You didn't ask for the pain. You didn't sign up for the confusion. You didn't step into love thinking it would one day feel like loneliness with a heartbeat, and yet here you are, sitting in the ruins of something you gave your whole self to. It's strange, isn't it, how someone can be so close and yet make you feel invisible, how you can cry in front of them and they blink, not even shaken, how you slowly started apologizing for your feelings like they were interruptions instead of invitations. You tried to be the calm in their chaos. You bent your voice, your needs, your very spirit to fit into the cracks they didn't want to fix. You watered a garden that only bloomed when they wanted something. And then blamed yourself when nothing ever grew. They didn't destroy you with one big storm. No, they weathered you down like waves over years. A joke that hurt, a look that dismissed, a silence that shouted louder than words ever could. Until you questioned if maybe, just maybe, you were too much or not enough. But here's the truth your heart has been whispering under all that noise. It was never about being enough for them. It was about them never being ready for the kind of love that saw them. Fully, deeply, without conditions. You weren't too much. You were too real, and they couldn't meet you there because they never even met themselves. You stayed longer than you should have, not because you were weak, but because you believed. In the potential, in the moments of softness, in the version of them they sometimes showed you, right before disappearing behind walls again. But belief without boundaries becomes self-betrayal, and love without reciprocation becomes erosion. And you began to disappear inside the space you were trying to fill. But there comes a moment, a quiet, breathless, terrifying moment where something inside you finally says, I cannot keep choosing someone who doesn't choose me back, not just in words. In effort, in presence, in honesty, in growth. And that moment, that is the beginning, not of revenge, not of anger, but of remembering. You see, healing doesn't start with forgetting them. It begins with remembering you. That you used to laugh louder, that you used to wake up without a knot in your stomach, that you used to dance in the kitchen and sing with reckless joy, that you used to love love before it became a negotiation for crumbs. So here you are, in the silence after the storm, and it hurts. God, it hurts. The bed is too big. The air feels too loud. The memories rush in uninvited, and every song feels like betrayal. But I need you to know something. Grief is not proof you made a mistake. Grief is proof that you showed up fully, truthfully, with a heart that still believes in connection. You didn't lose because they left. You won by staying honest in a world that hides behind ego. You gave love. And that's never a loss, but now it's your turn to receive, not from them, but from you. From the you who waited quietly while you poured into someone else. The you who deserves to be the main character in your own story. Not the background soundtrack to someone else's healing. It's time to come home, to your breath, to your body, to your boundaries, to your brilliance. This is not about pretending you're fine. This isn't about the fake strength we post online. This is about sitting in the messy middle, owning your ache, and still saying, I choose me, even here. You don't need to hate them to let go. You just need to love yourself more than the idea of them changing. Because hope can become a trap when it's tied to someone else's potential instead of your reality. They showed you who they are. Your job was never to fix them, it was to believe them. And now, to forgive yourself for all the times you didn't. Forgive the you who stayed, the you who kept trying, the you who thought love meant endurance instead of alignment. You were not foolish, you were faithful, and that is not weakness, that is courage. But the most courageous thing you'll ever do is walk away from what wounds you, even if it once felt like home. There will be days when you miss them, not just the person, but the version of yourself you were with them. The dreams you tied together, the way your name sounded when they said it, in the early days before their voice turned cold. But memories are not promises, and love is not a reason to abandon yourself. You're allowed to miss them and still move on. You're allowed to ache and still not go back. You're allowed to cry and still grow. Healing isn't linear. Some days it'll feel like freedom, other days like fog. But slowly, oh, So slowly you will wake up one morning and the first thought won't be them. It'll be you, your coffee, your peace, your playlist, your plans, and then you'll laugh, not because it's over, but because you finally see it. They were never your destination. They were the detour that taught you to never shrink for love again, and I know it's tempting to look back, to reread old messages, to wonder if maybe this time they'll get it. But darling, the version of them that could have loved you the way you deserve only exists in your imagination. You fell for the blueprint, not the building, and no matter how many times you revisit the past, you won't find the closure you're looking for there, because closure isn't something they give you, it's something you decide. It's the moment you stop waiting for an apology and start creating peace. The moment you realize you don't have to carry pain to remember love. The moment you whisper to your reflection, "I'm done begging to be seen. I see me now." There's a power in reclaiming your narrative. Not as the one who got left, but as the one who chose to rise, to rebuild, to reclaim their joy brick by beautiful brick. It won't be instant, but it will be worth it, because the most magnetic, radiant, powerful version of you is the one who no longer chases love, but attracts it by becoming it. Not love that needs to be earned, not love that needs to be proven, but love that simply is, love that begins with you and spills into the world from that place. You're not broken, you're becoming, and the best part. You get to choose who you become next, not to prove something, not to make them regret, but to honor the sacred truth that you were always enough. You just forgot for a while, but not anymore. You remember now. And that remembering is the start of everything, so now you're standing here, not quite healed, not quite broken, just in between, a little steadier than yesterday, a little softer than you thought you'd be. And that's where it begins, not with a grand transformation, not with fireworks, but with breath, with choice, with a quiet, powerful no more abandoning yourself to feel loved, no more explaining your worth to someone determined not to see it, no more romanticizing the pain just because it once held your name. You are not here to be tolerated. You are not here to be almost chosen. You are here to be met fully by someone who sees your magic and says, "There you are. I've been looking for you." And until that person shows up, you will be that someone. You will show up for yourself in ways no one ever did. You will sit with your emotions instead of silencing them. You will say no when your soul is screaming for space. You will stop shrinking to fit into rooms that never had the air for you, because that's the thing about healing. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world convinced you to forget. You were born worthy. You were born radiant. Before anyone gave you their love or withdrew it, you were whole. Before the heartbreaks, before the apologies that never came, before the lies dressed up as love you were. And that you still lives inside, buried under layers of compromise, silenced by years of choosing peace over your voice. But she's there, and she's rising. Don't rush her. She doesn't need to arrive in a single day. She doesn't need to smile through the wreckage. She just needs room to feel, room to unfold, room to rebuild without shame. The pain you carry, it's not weakness. It's residue of a love that tried its best, of lessons learned the hardest way. But you've outgrown those chapters now, and you're writing new ones, with gentler pens, with stronger hands, with a heart that finally includes you in the story. They say time heals. But I think it's truth that does, the truth you tell yourself when you stop lying for love, the truth that says, "This is not my fault, but it is my responsibility to heal," the truth that no longer waits for permission to bloom. And one day you'll meet someone who won't just be intrigued by your strength, but humbled by it. Someone who doesn't need to be convinced of your value, because they've done their own inner work and know the cost of a broken soul. Someone who listens to understand, not just to reply, who respects your boundaries not because they're afraid of losing you, but because they see you as sacred, but you won't be waiting for them, because you'll already be full of your own love, your own joy, your own peace. You'll have become the kind of person you once begged someone else to be, kind, consistent, safe, present, And even if love finds you again, this time it won't be to complete you. It'll be to walk beside you, because you finally learned you were never a half waiting to be filled. You were always whole, you just forgot. The you who once begged to be chosen will one day be the chooser. Not out of pride, but clarity. Not from fear, but alignment. You'll choose people who choose you without confusion, who don't flinch at your emotions, who don't retreat when you need reassurance, who don't punish your vulnerability, because you'll finally understand it was never about being lovable. It was about whether they had the capacity to love, and now you do, because you stayed with yourself. When others walked away, you held space for your healing. You stood in the fire and learned not to run. You met the version of yourself who doesn't settle anymore, not because she's bitter, but because she's free, free from patterns, from people, pleasing, from mistaking intensity for intimacy. This is the kind of freedom that doesn't always feel like flight. Sometimes it feels like stillness, like saying no when your body says no, like walking away even when your heart is screaming to stay. Like no longer arguing with reality just because it doesn't match your dreams. It's the quiet power of inner alignment, the kind that says, I love you, but I love me more, and not in a selfish way. In a sacred way, because when you choose you, you teach the world how to treat you. You stop accepting breadcrumbs and start baking your own damn bread. And when you look in the mirror, you no longer see someone trying to survive love. You see someone who is love, alive, wounded, healing, glorious. You will still have soft days, nights when your chest tightens and you wonder what could have been. But you will hold that version of you close, not with shame, but with compassion. You'll whisper, we made it, we're not perfect, but we're free. And maybe one day someone will come along and they will see you as you are, not through filters of projection or convenience, but clearly, tenderly, and still even then you won't forget this chapter, not because it defines you, but because it refined you. It taught you how to sit with your own ache without abandoning yourself. It taught you that the strongest love you'll ever feel is the one you build from the inside out. So when they ask you how you healed, you won't say, I waited. You'll say, I fought, I cried, I let go, and then I rebuilt, piece by sacred piece, until I became the kind of love I was always looking for. And you'll smile. Not because the journey was easy, but because you did it. You chose truth. You chose growth. You chose you. And that is how everything changes, not all at once, but forever.